On my 40th birthday, I woke up alone, no husband, no kids, just silence. By noon, I found them on Instagram in Dubai with his mistress. My daughter's caption: "Daddy's treating us since mom's boring anyway." I didn't cry. I smiled, turned on Do Not Disturb, and sent one email. By nightfall, his access was revoked, his career ruined, and his reputation in flames. He called 127 times. I never answered. He said my gift would blow my mind. It did, just not the way he planned. This is how I gave myself the best birthday gift: justice. Your gift will blow your mind. My spouse teased me during the week leading up to my 40th birthday. I woke up to silence that morning. The house was deserted. No children. Not a word. Instagram captured them at a posh resort in Dubai by midday. "Daddy is taking care of us because mom is boring," my daughter captioned the photo. In any case, I didn't respond. After 2 hours, my WhatsApp exploded. Desperate messages. Pleading with me. I was shocked to see that I had 127 missed calls from Nathan on my phone. The quiet of my vacant house had not been broken by any of them. When I first saw Sophie's Instagram post, I immediately put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode. The WhatsApp notification that displayed dozens of unread messages, all from him, was hovered over by my thumb. I was drawn to the most recent one. "Please answer the phone, Elena. I beseech you." I grinned. Exactly 37 minutes after I sent Richard the security footage, the pleading had begun. It took 37 minutes for Nathan's idyllic existence to fall apart. For the removal of his corporate email access. For the collapse of his career. My gift to myself on my 40th birthday. Fairness. Let me back up, though. Let me explain how it all started. Only 7 hours before, Nathan had been making fun of my birthday for a week. Every morning before Dad left for work, he would kiss my cheek and murmur, "Your gift will blow your mind." He had been particularly loving last night, bringing my favorite takeaway home, cracking open a bottle of wine, and urging the kids to let me sleep late on my special day. Long after he began to snore, I would lie awake reflecting on our 18 years of marriage. Sweethearts from college who had created a life together. His ascent through Sullivan and Pierce Investment Group's corporate echelons. When Sophie was born, I decided to put my law career on hold. The lovely suburban Atlanta house we had been saving for. Every summer, the family takes a beach vacation. I wondered if my milestone birthday present would be as considerate as the beautiful necklace he had given me for our anniversary last month. When I did wake up, the home was oddly quiet. Noah's noisy video game playing is not audible. The sound of Sophie's music reverberating through the walls. There was no hint of the wonderful birthday breakfast Nathan had promised or the aroma of his coffee. "Nathan." With my voice echoing off the walls of our master bedroom, I yelled. It was cold on his side of the bed. Hours had passed since he left. After putting on my robe, I padded down the corridor. Sophie. Noah. When I pulled open their bedroom doors, I discovered glaringly empty closets and immaculately made beds, which were rare for my teenagers. As I rushed downstairs and yelled their names more urgently, my pulse rate increased. The kitchen was spotlessly clean. Not touched. The ingredients Nathan had bought yesterday, fresh strawberries, cream cheese, and the unique bio bread I adored, were still in their wrapping when I opened the refrigerator. I never cooked my birthday breakfast. At that point, I discovered that the family bathroom was missing 3 toothbrushes. There is no luggage left in the hall closet. The entryway rack is missing my kids' favorite shoes. Surrounded by family portraits that seemed to suddenly make fun of me, I fell into a kitchen stool. Nathan's parents joined the 6 of us to Disney World the previous year. Sophie, taking home her debate title. Noah's project for the scientific fair. Family photos in which we all grinned broadly. I hurried to get my phone when it rang from upstairs, expecting an explanation. My parents, co-workers from my previous company, and college buddies all sent birthday greetings. Not a word from my hubby. Nothing from my kids. My SMS message to Nathan was, "Where are you guys?" The message appeared to have been delivered. No answer. I gave Sophie a try. Where did everyone go, honey? Mom. Blue spots showed up. She had witnessed it. Then vanished. No response. Noah would respond to me. Noah was sweet enough to still give me a hug in front of his pals. Noah, please explain the situation to me. Go ahead and read. No answer. I opened Instagram with trembling hands. The platform was Sophie's home. As her most recent post loaded, I gasped. Nathan, Sophie, and Noah were there, smiling next to an infinity pool that looked out over a breathtaking cityscape. Palm trees. Unachievable luxury. In the background is the Burj Al Arab. What was left of my poise was shattered by the caption. A surprise trip with the most amazing father ever. 2 hearts hashtag Dubai hashtag luxury life hashtag spontaneous adventure. Mom is still anyhow, so daddy is spoiling us. In an attempt to understand the post, I read the caption several times while I stared at it. Daddy's treating us since mom's boring anyway. The words of my daughter. The smile of my hubby. Halfway around the world, my family is celebrating without me. On my 40th birthday, I looked through additional pictures, including them checking into a resort suite with views that likely cost more than our monthly mortgage and boarding a first-class airplane. While the children held up virgin cocktails, Nathan raised a glass of champagne. All were posted in the previous 12 hours. My legs failed me. Still holding onto my phone, I slid down the wall to the floor. This was planned. They left me out on purpose. I spent the next hour walking around her house like a ghost, touching things I knew to be genuine. The mantle's anniversary picture. On movie nights, we cuddled up under the throw blanket. Noah's prize from soccer. Sophie's artwork, which I proudly displayed. My sister gave me a call. Next, my mom. I left a voicemail for their birthday greetings. I poured a glass of wine for myself and took a seat at our dining room table about 11 a.m. I took out the family calendar so we could keep tabs on everyone's whereabouts. As I turned the pages again, I saw that Nathan had marked this entire week as busy, without providing any information. He had never spoken of going on a trip, never inquired about my desire to visit Dubai. He never even hinted that he and the children might miss my birthday. I made an effort to recall if I had done anything to merit this. Was I dull? Had I become invisible because I was so focused on running the house and fostering everyone else's dreams? Was he so repulsed by becoming 40 that he had to get away? I enter Nathan's home office at around midday in search of an explanation. I knew where he kept the key, taped beneath the drawer, but his desk's drawers were locked. He once boasted to me that nobody would ever consider looking there. I discovered what he didn't want me to see in the bottom drawer. He had concealed credit card statements from our common financial management application. Fees for jewelry that I had never gotten. He claimed to be working late on Thursdays, but the restaurant bells were expensive. Charges for hotels in our own city. Additionally, 3 tickets to Dubai that were bought more than a month ago have flight confirmations. One name kept coming up in one of the documents. Aubrey Sinclair's expense report. He has an executive assistant. At work events, the attractive and enthusiastic 26-year-old would always laugh too hard at his jokes. Who, outside of office hours, always seemed to require his advice. My hand slammed against something solid in the drawer's back as I was still looking, a phone I had never seen before. It was a cheap burner phone instead of his usual iPhone. As I turned it on, my fingers shook. No password security. He had acted recklessly. Maybe he had intended to take it with him, but in his enthusiasm, he forgot to leave me. My entire world changed when the SMS messages loaded. Looking forward to Thursday night. Same location, same time. Put on that crimson outfit. 2 weeks ago, Nathan told Aubrey. Dubai is going to be fantastic. He doesn't know. Told the children it was a special vacation for them alone. A week ago, Nathan told Aubrey. Boarding a flight. For 1 week, freedom. Children consider the excursion to be enjoyable. Sophie has already written a post on it. To Aubrey yesterday, Nathan. I put down the phone, astonished at my composure. Everything was coming together. The client meetings on Thursday nights, and the sudden need to work late. The declining closeness within the family. The way he had started critiquing my appearance, interests, and speech. I wasn't dull. To create place for someone else, I was being eliminated. A peculiar clarity came over me as I collected the evidence that was strewn all over his desk, including the expense records, the phone, and the statements. The security cameras at Nathan's office building came to mind. Since I had assisted in choosing the vendor during their remodeling 3 years prior, I knew that the system kept track of everything. Nathan has always been reckless and believed he could talk his way out of problems. He would never imagine that I would seek proof. I never thought I would defend myself. I grabbed my phone and navigated to Marcus Johnson, the security chief at Sullivan and Pierce, a contact I hadn't used in years. After I helped his daughter secure an internship at my former law firm, he owed me a favor. It was time to find out exactly what took place in Nathan's corner office every Thursday night. My fingers lingered over the contact details for Marcus Johnson. Was this something I was actually thinking about? I had never spied on Nathan throughout our 17 years of marriage. I never asked where he was. Never questioned his loyalty. We had been built on trust, or so I believed. I took a quick look at the burner phone next to me, which was still showing private conversations between my husband and his secretary. Already, the evidence was incriminating. However, I felt compelled to witness firsthand the full scope of his betrayal. Following a rival's attempt at corporate espionage 3 years prior, Sullivan and Pierce had undergone a significant security upgrade. I had been requested to provide vendor selection advice because I am Nathan's wife and have a degree in law. I recall talking with Marcus about access procedures, data storage, and camera positioning as we strolled about the workplace. The system's 2-year storage capacity was something he had been very pleased of. He had boasted, better than the industry standard. I never thought that feature would become my lifeline in the future. After searching my desk drawer for business cards, I eventually located Marcus's, hidden under more recent ones. I took a deep breath and, before I could change my mind, hit the call button. On the third ring, he answered. Johnson, Marcus. This is Elena Carter, Marcus. Elena. It's been a while. How are you? I hope you have a happy birthday. My tummy knotted up as he casually brought up my birthday. I appreciate you keeping in mind. I need your help, and it's a little out of the ordinary. His quiet was hesitant, and I could hear it. I'm paying attention. With a more composed voice than I had anticipated, I lied and said, I'm creating a surprise anniversary video for Nathan. I wanted to share a few videos of him working because, that's what's made him successful. Is it possible to view some of his office's security footage? One more pause. Mika, that's not exactly standard procedure. I get it. I added, adding warmth to my voice. If it wasn't important, I wouldn't ask. I gently reminded him, remember when I helped Amber get that internship at Collier and Walsh? Isn't she doing well there now? She is, Marcus acknowledged. Last month, I became a junior associate. I'm quite happy. Don't we all need a little assistance from time to time? I let the inference to linger between us. He let out a sigh. Which dates did you have in mind? Actually, Thursday evenings. For the past month, I spoke in a casual, conversational tone. His dedication is evident from those late nights. With a small change in tone, he continued, Thursday evenings. Had he a suspicion already? After a moment of hesitation, he answered, I can probably help with that. Secure temporary links that expire after 24 hours are supported by the system. Is that going to work? With a wave of relief, I said, perfect. And Marcus, I'd appreciate your discretion. This should be a total surprise, please. I hung up after settling the specifics and went back to the family calendar. Now that I was searching for it, the pattern was obvious. For the previous 6 months, Thursday nights have been spent on strategy sessions, late meetings, and client dinners, all of which are ambiguous. Every Thursday, I started thinking about Aubrey's hiring procedure. Nathan had insisted on conducting his new executive assistant's interviews in person 8 months prior. Nathan opposed the HR director's preference for an older, more experienced applicant, pointing to Aubrey's fresh perspective and eagerness to learn. She was tall, blonde, and I recalled meeting her at the holiday party. She was admiring Nathan's wedding ring and laughing too much at his jokes. And I recalled the little changes in Nathan's Thursday rituals. He typically saved the pricey cologne for client functions, the formal shirts that had to be properly pressed all of a sudden. The later and later always comes home with a hint of booze and evasive justifications about networking. His remarks about me had also changed. Minor critiques on my cozy attire, recommendations for coloring my graying hair, concerns regarding when I may get back in shape. Though offered with a grin, each comment seemed like a small dagger. I never saw the jewelry, but Aubrey got it. I liked the dinners I didn't try. Marcus's email notification rang on my laptop. Sooner than anticipated. A temporary password and secure link. Before accessing the link, I made a private haven in my home office by closing the blinds and pouring another glass of wine. I could choose particular dates, times, and camera views using the calendar and floor plan features of the user-friendly security system interface. Last Thursday, I made my decision. 7 p.m. Nathan's office's exterior camera. The video came up immediately. I saw the majority of the staff leave for the evening. 7:43 p.m. was the timestamp displayed. Aubrey brought 2 glasses of wine back from the break room. She went without knocking inside Nathan's office. I changed to the camera inside. With a familiarity that made my stomach turn, my husband greeted his secretary. Their body language conveyed a different message than the professional tone of their discourse, which began with budget reports and client meetings. On his office couch, they sat too close to one another, rubbing hands and shoulders as they passed papers. He gave her a kiss at 8:17 p.m. It was a seasoned, passionate embrace that conveyed established intimacy rather than a hesitant first kiss. The same man who had complained of headaches and fatigue whenever I tried to make love at home, I observed them on his office couch with a strange sense of detachment. The speed and familiarity of their interaction suggested a well-established pattern. Then they talked about Dubai as they were adjusting their clothes. Does she not know? Aubrey asked as she looked at herself in a small mirror. Nathan chuckled. Not a single one. I believe I'm preparing a unique birthday surprise at home. Aubrey grinned and said, well, you are surprising her. Just not in the manner she anticipates. The children are thrilled. Sophie completely agrees. In any case, she finds her mother uninteresting. As she sipped her wine, Aubrey remarked, typical teenage stuff. But helpful. Are you certain she won't cause any trouble while you're away? No unexpected inquiries. My heart was broken by my husband's contemptuous snort. Please, Elena. She is too preoccupied with grocery shopping and her book club to pay attention. Years ago, she lost her interest. In startled silence, I watched Aubrey open a little jewelry box that contained the diamond bracelet that matched the necklace Nathan had bought me for our anniversary. This was the purchase I had seen on his credit card statement. She tried it on and said, it's gorgeous. Only the best for you, he assured her, giving her another kiss. And we'll talk about your promotion when I return from Dubai. 3 more Thursdays I made myself watch. Recording dates, times, and discussions. Deeper betrayals were exposed in each recording, including jokes made about me, schemes made with our family money, and conversations about how predictable I am. My phone received 12 new notifications by the time I was done watching the video. Photos of their breakfast in Dubai, the hotel suite, and the kids having fun in the pool were sent by Nathan. Finally, Sophie sent a half-hearted text that said, "Happy birthday, Mom." 6 hours into what should have been a memorable day. I paid them all no attention. Rather, I made a new evidence folder on my laptop. I downloaded the most important parts of the security video. The credit card statements were meticulously recorded. Captured the burner phone's text messages on camera. Created a chronology of Nathan's lies. I labored for hours on end, reviving my legal training while I constructed a strong case against my husband. Something frigid has replaced the ache. More concentrated. I recalled that Nathan had previously brought up Sullivan and Pierce's stringent executive morals policy, which was intended to preserve the company's standing with their affluent, traditional clientele, a provision that expressly forbade romantic connections with subordinates. A provision that, if broken, would result in instant termination. I was certain where to target. At what he really valued, his position, his power, and his reputation, rather than at his heart, which he obviously lacked. Abandoned by my family but armed with indisputable proof, I had prepared my rebuttal by sundown on my 40th birthday. No, I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cause a commotion. I would only demonstrate to Sullivan and Pierce managing partner Richard Barnes the type of man he had made partner. I would then watch for my phone to ring. That night, I slept unusually well. Once terrible, the house's emptiness now felt like a haven. A silent battleground where I could carry out my strategy without hindrance. Despite everything, I was strangely energetic when I woke up before my 5:30 a.m. alarm. As I went over Sullivan and Pierce's employment handbook, the one Nathan had foolishly left in his desk drawer years prior, the early sun peeked through my office windows. Page 42. Section 8.3. Clause on Executive Conduct and Morality. I had underlined the pertinent sections. Direct subordinates and executives are not allowed to have romantic or sexual relationships. Violations are grounds for termination right away. Serious misconduct occurs when business resources are misused for private purposes. I have enough experience with business law to be able to spot watertight language. The reputation of Sullivan and Pierce was established by Richard Barnes on the basis of honesty and conservative principles. The company handled billions for customers who demanded that personnel in charge of their money behave flawlessly. I opened my laptop and wrote an email with the same level of detail I used to save for legal briefs. No sentimental words. No personal betrayal charges. Just the facts. Proof. As well as explicit allusions to corporate policies. Richard Barnes at Pierce.com, TU. CC. Sullivan Pierce at boardofdirectors.com. Subject: Executive Suite Misconduct. Serious ethics violation. Board members and Mr. Barnes, I must regretfully draw your attention to partner Nathan Blake's grave infractions of business policy. The supporting documentation that is attached. A persistently unsuitable connection with Aubrey Sinclair, his executive assistant. Misuse of commercial property for private purposes during working hours. Improper use of business funds for expenses and personal gifts. Every infraction blatantly violates Executive Conduct Policy Section 8.3. To support these efforts, I've supplied time-stamped surveillance footage, expenditure reports, and records of the firm resources used. I felt compelled to bring these issues to your attention since I have always appreciated Sullivan and Pierce's dedication to moral behavior. With all due respect, Harrington Elena, J.D. The most damaging tape, which has been meticulously edited to exclusively show workplace wrongdoing and explicit conversations of stealing corporate funds, is attached. In order to highlight costs for jewelry, dinners, and hotel rooms that were billed as client entertainment, I inserted the expense reports that Nathan had left on his desk. I moved my finger over the send button. However, I waited. It was all about timing. At 9:15 a.m., the weekly executive meeting got underway. Every Tuesday, a gathering of all board members and partners to talk about delicate topics away from employees. Richard insisted that everyone put their phones away and focus entirely on the issues at hand, which is why Nathan had been complaining about these meetings for years, calling them old school. To be notified when the email was opened, I installed an email tracking extension. After that, I observed the clock and brewed a pot of coffee. I hit send at exactly 9:15 a.m., the time the meeting would be called to order. Instantly, the message, email delivered successfully, displayed. The first read receipt showed up at 9:23 a.m. Then another. Then 5 more quickly followed. My phone buzzed at 9:27 a.m. with a text message from Marcus. What did you do? Security was summoned to the executive floor just now. I didn't answer. Rather, I observed that my tracking program displayed several attachment openings, forwards, and downloads. Exactly 37 minutes after I sent my email, at 9:52 a.m., an automated message showed up in my inbox. This is an automated message from the IT department of Sullivan and Pierce. Nathan Harrington at spierce.com is the user. Status: access has been cut off with immediate effect. Executive level authorization. Our home security system sent me an app notification when my phone vibrated once more. Years ago, I had set it up so we could keep an eye on the house while we were away. I was also able to track Nathan's whereabouts because the program synchronized with his office security badge, a feature he had long since forgotten. The alert said, "Office access, executive floor security override." He was being escorted away. Richard Barnes himself sent a brief email at 10:06 a.m. Mrs. Harrington, we appreciate you alerting us to these issues. Ethics infractions are taken very seriously at Sullivan and Pierce. The proper action has been taken and is now in effect. If you need any additional help, please get in touch with my office. Managing Partner Richard Barnes. Investment Group Sullivan and Pierce. I went to the Our Team page after refreshing the business website. Once prominently displayed as a rising star partner, Nathan's profile was disappeared. In the place of his happy face, there was now an uneven gap in the leadership grid. My phone displayed Nathan's face at 10:29 a.m. On the initial call, I said no. He gave another call. And once more. Then the SMS messages appeared. What did you do? My access has been taken away. I was just held out by security. Now, answer your phone. Elena, this isn't funny. Are you attempting to destroy us? A peculiar calm descended upon me with every urgent message. I turned off the ringer but left the phone on my desk so I could see his horror as it happened. He had made 63 calls by lunchtime. At 12:18 p.m., Sophie's message showed up. Mom, what's going on? Is everything all right? Dad is panicking out and shouts, we have to leave. A few seconds later, Noah texted, how are you doing, Mom? Dad is furious, but he won't explain what's wrong. He is forcing us to pack. I didn't respond to them. Not quite yet. The calls went on. 77. 92. 108. Nathan had made 127 calls by 2 p.m. His WhatsApp texts became more desperate. Elena, please pick up the phone. I beseech you. We can remedy this, whatever you believe happened. Consider the children. Consider our family. Everything has been locked out of me. Business accounts. Email. Constructing access. Richard refuses to talk to me at all. What did you say to them? I smiled at that last message. He was still unaware of my precise actions. The fact that I had access to everything, including the expense reports, the surveillance footage, and the private phone conversations with Aubrey, was beyond his comprehension. As his messages kept piling up, I walked through our home with intention. I carefully packed Nathan's personal belongings, including his prized college football trophies, the framed family portraits for his office, and the pricey timepieces he accumulated, into cardboard boxes with a straightforward label. Nathan's belongings. I then got in touch with my friend Stephanie, who had continued to practice law after I took a break from it. I informed her that I required an urgent consultation. Marriage dissolution, in cases of abandonment, financial misconduct, and infidelity. Elena, what has occurred? There was worry in her voice. When we get together, I'll go over everything. How quickly can documents to freeze shared assets be filed? By the end of the day, if there are emergency situations, are you secure? I was taken aback by the question. I'm perfectly safe. And for the first time in years, I'm seeing clearly. I phoned a locksmith, and he came within an hour after I scheduled an appointment with Stephanie for the next morning. I reset our smart home security system with new codes and had all of the external locks changed. Then, pointing to possible fraudulent activity, I got in touch with our bank and temporarily blocked our joint accounts. Nathan's hold on our joint life was systematically undermined by each deed. By late afternoon, Sophie had stopped texting and started calling. I didn't respond even though I saw my daughter's name flash on the screen. That morning, they had made their decision. They had a bit more time to wait in doubt. As the sun sank over my deserted home, I sat in the bedroom we used to share and experienced an unusual sensation. Strength. Not merely rage. Not merely revenge. But real, indisputable power. I had molded myself around Nathan's needs, wants, and goals for 17 years. I had put my career on hold, taken care of his house, brought up his kids, kept up with his social schedule, and trusted his falsehoods. I was in complete control now, though, as his frantic messages kept illuminating my phone. My new reality was validated by every desperate call. The change in our dynamic was reaffirmed by each begging text. I was no longer the uninteresting spouse who was thrown out on her birthday. I was the lady who, in one well-executed act, had destroyed all he held dear. I wasn't done yet, either. I watched them on their frantic way home all night. A digital breadcrumb trail of their hurried getaway was produced by Sophie's Instagram story updates. At the resort, a bewildered selfie with the following caption: "Short vacation disappointed face." A photograph of packed luggage with the following tag follows: hashtag unexpected changeoplans. Noah, who is usually less active on social media, shared an uncommon selfie from the airport. He had a serious face, and I could see the bewilderment in his eyes. Leaving early for home. I'm not sure why. This was his caption. There was an inadvertent weight to its simplicity. I followed their virtual personas as they traveled from the resort to Dubai International Airport using our family location sharing app, which Nathan had insisted on for safety, but had neglected to turn off. There were now more urgent messages regarding aircraft availability and connection problems in place of Nathan's frantic calls. There are no direct flights. London is the necessary connection point. Will be postponed. Children ask me questions that I am unable to respond to. Elena, answer your phone. I kept tabs on their movements across countries and estimated that they would arrive after 22 hours of travel, including delays and connections. Being cooped up in airplane cabins with our increasingly suspicious kids for almost an entire day allowed Nathan to descend further into terror. My lawyer buddy Stephanie and I had spent the day getting ready for their homecoming. After looking over the evidence, she declared, "You've got him dead to rights. He has obviously broken the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause and the mixing of assets for private transgressions. Tomorrow morning, we will file first thing." Now I stood on our front porch as night set on the day after my birthday. On my lap was a folder containing a selection of the evidence. The spotless landscaping that Nathan had always been so proud of was dramatically shadowed by the porch light. The majority of the families had already gone to bed, so our neighborhood was peaceful and ignorant of the impending altercation. Headlights rushed across the driveway at 9:47 p.m. 3 weary individuals came out as the Uber came to a stop. I was first noticed by Nathan. His face shifted quickly between relief, rage, and fear. Noah and Sophie hung back, their posture betraying their bewilderment. "What did you do?" Nathan snarled as he got closer to the stairs. "Do you know anything about?" Calmly, I interrupted, "I know exactly what I did." "Whether you do or not is the question." Sophie took a step forward, her defensive teenageness showing. "Why didn't you pick up when we called, Mom?" "There was an emergency, according to Dad." I responded, "There was," as I got to my feet and held the folder to my chest. "Just not the type your dad told you about." Noah said nothing, his gaze flitting between us, feeling the tension that charged the atmosphere. With his gaze fixed on me, Nathan commanded, "Kids, take your bags inside." "We've changed the locks," I told him calmly. "And they ought to remain for this. They are entitled to know why their trip to Dubai was cut short." Nathan and Aubrey were sitting on his office couch in a position that left no room for interpretation when I opened the folder and gave him the first printed screenshot. To his credit, he made an effort to conceal it right away, but not before Sophie glanced over his shoulder. "Dad," she said in a hesitant tone. The most cliched answer he could muster was, "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I shot back, maintaining a steady tone while presenting another picture. "Your father has been telling me that I'm uninteresting and ugly for months, during which time he has been having an affair with his secretary." Nathan's expression twisted. "Avoid doing this in their presence." "Why not?" "You did." I looked at our kids. "I thought you were all arranging a surprise when I was at home by myself on my birthday. In fact, you participated in your father's cover tale. He covered his affair with both of you." Sophie wavered in her defiance. "That is untrue. He said that you were too pressured and busy to take a holiday. When I sent out dozens of unanswered birthday texts yesterday, did I come across as stressed?" I asked quietly. "Or did I appear to be someone who, on a day when her family should have been joining her in celebration, woke up to an empty house?" With tears running down his cheeks, Noah took a step forward. He told Nathan, "I told you we should call Mom first. I wanted to tell her before I left." As I handed the kids printouts of their own social media posts, I added, "You needed to control the narrative," speaking to Nathan. "So you tricked our kids into thinking I was uninteresting and dull." Sophie gazed at the caption on her own Instagram. "Mom is boring anyhow, so Daddy is taking care of us." Her face went white. "Did you recommend that phrase?" I softly asked her. Tears welled up in her eyes, just like mine. "Dad said you would laugh when you saw it later, because it would be funny." Nathan moved in the direction of the door. "This is absurd. We're all worn out. Let us in so we can have an adult conversation about this. The adult who left his wife on her birthday, for example," I said in a composed tone. "Or the adult who used our family credit card to purchase jewels for his mistress." Sophie let out a gasp. Noah gave a little hurt sound. "This is what's going to happen," I said, with the poise I had worked on all day. "Noah and Sophie are welcome to enter." They left their rooms precisely as they found them. "Nathan, you can find another place to stay. In the garage are boxes containing your personal belongings. You can't simply bar me from my own home. The residence under my name. The one I renovated with my trust fund after inheriting from my grandmother. That residence." I grinned coldly. "I believe I can." I used my new key to unlock the door, and Noah was the first to pass past me. Sophie paused, caught between the parents she had always perceived as being one. "Don't worry, I answered quietly. "You are not to blame for this. It's not at all." "Dad," she begged, turning to face him. Something unsightly hardened on Nathan's face. "It's obvious that your mother has gone insane. Because she is resentful and spiteful, she is attempting to ruin our family." Before I answered, the charge lingered in the air for a second. "Check your father's phone, Sophie. Check for Aubrey's messages." Nathan yelled, "Don't touch my phone." But Sophie had already had enough of his response. Her shoulders trembled with quiet cries as she passed me and entered the home. Nathan's facade finally broke down when he was left alone. He muttered, "You've ruined everything. My profession. My standing." Without flinching, I met his gaze. I told him, "You did that yourself. 6 months of Thursday nights. All the lies you told our kids. Each time you billed our family account for an additional hotel room." The days that followed were a curious blend of confusion and insight. Nathan quickly and thoroughly destroyed his career. Richard Barnes personally contacted to let me know that after hearing of Nathan's departure, a number of important clients had asked to be transferred right away to other partners. Richard clarified, "The investment community is small. Word spreads quickly." Aubrey discreetly agreed to a settlement and resigned, leaving Nathan's life just as swiftly as she had arrived. She found better opportunities without his status, influence, or expense account. Men who had previously eaten at our house and whose kids had played with ours, Nathan's coworkers, shunned him in public. There was no answer to his business calls. Memberships in country clubs were secretly canceled. Scandal and bad decisions caused his carefully crafted professional network, which he had spent decades constructing, to fall apart. Sophie and Noah, meanwhile, dealt with their own betrayal. When Sophie realized how thoroughly her father had twisted her against me, her initial defense of him vanished. In a low voice, she admitted, "He kept saying you were probably glad for the break. That family vacations were never truly enjoyable for you anyway." Teenage rebellion made Noah's response much simpler. He clung to me like he had when he was a much younger child, repeating, "I didn't want to go without you." The entire time it felt wrong. I discovered strength in the midst of it, all that I was unaware I had. Despite my personal hurts, I consoled my kids by telling them that I still loved them, that they didn't have to pick sides, and that the divorce wasn't their fault. Stephanie and I met Nathan and his hurriedly hired attorney at her office a week after my birthday. She sent him a thorough list of his transgressions as well as divorce papers. With a clinical tone, Stephanie clarified, "Mrs. Harrington signed a prenuptial agreement that contains explicit provisions regarding infidelity. In the event that either party has an extramarital affair, Section 3.2 expressly nullifies the community property provisions." Nathan's attorney looked over the document with increasing alarm. "Furthermore, we have evidence of widespread misappropriation of family cash for private indulgences, such as jewelry, hotel stays, and the most recent vacation to Dubai," Stephanie added. She navigated through a spreadsheet that listed all of the dubious charges, each one carefully arranged and dated. "If this goes to trial, we have 3 witnesses ready to testify about Mr. Harrington's behavior and character." It was obvious from Stephanie's tone that Nathan didn't want to go down this route. "Nevertheless," she added, "Mrs. Harrington is willing to make a fair settlement offer. The conditions were simple. I would retain primary custody of the children and the house. Nathan would keep the money he had accumulated before to our marriage, as well as his personal investments. He would not pay alimony, but he would pay fair child support. I didn't require or desire his money. Above all, a confidentiality agreement was part of the deal. I wouldn't openly discuss the specifics of his wrongdoing beyond what was already known in exchange for a speedy, amicable divorce." His lawyer said, "You're being surprisingly generous," with a tone of bewilderment. "I'm being realistic," I told him. "I want this phase of my life to end as soon as possible so that my kids and I can move on." I became aware of the ultimate reality of our marriage as Nathan signed the documents, his hand quivering a little. He had never really seen me, even in its ruin. He had misjudged my knowledge, my fortitude, and my ability to administer measured justice. He would never again make a mistake at my expense. I didn't think that silence would be the first step toward healing, but it was. I was speechless as I sat in Dr. Eleanor Mason's dimly lit office 2 weeks after I had signed the divorce papers. The words were there, 17 years of them, but they were stuck in a life of putting other people's demands ahead of my own. With a soft yet stern tone, she said, "Take your time. You own this space." Something profound was revealed by those 4 words. My personal area. My time. My recovery. Our weekly meetings served as the cornerstone of my recuperation. Dr. Mason assisted me in recognizing patterns I had never noticed before, such as how I had progressively devalued myself in order to elevate Nathan, and how I had accepted his nuanced insults until I genuinely thought I was uninteresting and undeserving. During our 3rd session, she said, "You centered your identity around being his wife. You get to see Elena for who she truly is now." Little steps were taken to start that journey. After Sophie was born, I pulled out the watercolor set I had put away. Even if my initial attempts were awkward, the satisfaction of making something just for me felt revolutionary. I joined a book group that was centered on women's journaling and self-discovery, not the one Nathan had made fun of for being suburban and predictable. Most importantly, I was able to reconnect with friends who had slowly faded out of my life. A terrible reality came to light after lunch with my law school roommate. My roommate from law school confessed over salads. We stopped inviting you because Nathan always had an excuse to. He would claim you were too worn out or preoccupied with the children. We finally came to the conclusion that you simply weren't interested. Comparable discussions with other friends demonstrated how deliberately Nathan had distanced me in the name of family priorities and protection. Every reunion was like recovering a part of myself that had been methodically taken away. My journal turned become a haven where I dealt with the rage that occasionally overcame me at strange times. I wrote one evening, I found his old running shoes in the garage today and threw them in the trash. Then I recovered them out of guilt. I then threw them out once more, because I felt bad about feeling guilty. Development isn't linear. My recuperation progressed in tandem with the children's. Sophie withdrew within herself after being first devastated by her unintentional involvement in Nathan's deceit. Noah grew overly attached, fearing that if he didn't keep me in sight, I may vanish. Their required meetings with Nathan, who now resides in an apartment in the heart of the city, frequently resulted in emotional fallout that echoed throughout our house. I therefore started to establish new customs to replace those that had been tarnished by treachery. Once organized by Nathan, who insisted on picking the movies, our Friday movie nights evolved into a democratic event in which each person had an equal chance to vote. Sunday brunches, which had previously been hectic events before Nathan's golf outings, have evolved into relaxed get-togethers where dialogue is free to flow. Sophie and Noah were able to communicate their complex feelings in a safe environment through family counseling. During one session, Noah admitted, I still love Dad, even though I'm mad at him. Does that mean I'm betraying Mom? Our counselor softly clarified that love is not a limited resource. Your love for your mother does not diminish because you love your father. Sophie's recovery was more intricate. Her view of our family had been entangled with her identity as a teenager. One evening, as we were cooking supper together, another new custom, she noticed. You've changed. You laugh more. I informed her. I'm remembering who I was. And realizing my potential. I apologize for that Instagram caption, she said in a hushed tone. If I had known, I never would have posted that. I drew her into my arms. I understand, dear. We were all subjected to various forms of manipulation. Our relationship was deepened in ways I hadn't expected because of our newfound vulnerability and my readiness to disclose relevant aspects of my recovery. My kids started to view me as a complete person, not simply as their mother. And genuine connection was made possible by that change. Richard Barnes contacted 3 months after the divorce was filed with a surprising proposal. He clarified, Sullivan and Pierce is creating a new ethics compliance division. We would like to talk about a possible role given your legal background and your distinct viewpoint on executive misconduct. I didn't miss the irony. Professional atonement was being offered by the company that had previously been the scene of my greatest betrayal. I told Richard straight out, I don't want to be a cautionary tale. He retorted, that's precisely why you're ideal for this. You recognize the human cost of unethical behavior, and, to be honest, a number of our female executives specifically asked you to get involved. I agreed to an interview after giving it some thought, and spoke with my therapist. It was both strange and empowering to enter Sullivan and Pierce's headquarters. I was no longer the wife of Nathan Blake. My name was J.D. Elena Carter, a self-contained professional. They gave me a job that was perfect for me. Hard work that made use of my legal skills, flexible hours that allowed me to attend to my family obligations, and the chance to create regulations that could help others from going through what I had. I returned to the workplace with a confidence I hadn't experienced in decades after earning refresher certifications in corporate compliance legislation. I went to Nathan for the last divorce hearing 6 months after my disastrous 40th birthday. I hardly recognized the man who walked into the conference room as the husband I had known. His expensive clothing hung loosely about his body. At his temples, gray had emerged. Additionally, he had lost the endearing assurance that had always characterized him. His tone was one of astonishment as he said, "You look well." "I'm fine," I said plainly. Nathan leaned in, trying to make one more move as our lawyers sealed the deal. His voice lowered for privacy. He started, "I've been thinking a lot. Mika, we created a life together. 18 years. The children require consistency. Perhaps we ought to think about getting counseling. A new beginning." Gently yet firmly, I interrupted him. "Nathan, there's no turning back. Is this what you truly want?" There was a menacing edge to his voice. "To destroy our family, because of a single error?" I looked him in the eye. "That's what you made. I'm just going forward." I set a little velvet box on the table between us before I left. It contained the twin of Aubrey's bracelet, the anniversary necklace he had given me. I said in a low voice, "This is not mine." It didn't. My lawyer's heels clicked confidently beside mine as we left the building, and I left without turning around. My cheek was warmed by the springtime brightness outside. I had something approaching true peace for the first time since my birthday. On an ideal April morning, I celebrated my 41st birthday. No grandiose promises. No enigmatic clues about incredible presents. Instead, Noah proudly brought fresh coffee and slightly burned toast when he knocked on my bedroom door at a respectable hour. "Downstairs, Sophie is decorating," he muttered slyly. "She forced me to swear I wouldn't tell you." Our dining area was transformed downstairs by my daughter, who obviously stayed up late making the banner and the homemade paper flowers. It said in sparkling letters, "Mom's Rebirth." My parents came with their favorite foods from my early years. Friends arrived with well-considered presents that honored my rediscovered interests, including books, hiking equipment for the weekend excursions I had started going on with the Women's Outdoor Organization, and art supplies. Photo albums from before I'd met Nathan were delivered by my sister. They served as visual reminders of the dynamic, driven woman I had been and was once again becoming. I started crying as Sophie presented the cake she had made herself. Chocolate with buttercream icing, which is my favorite, instead of Nathan's favorite carrot cake that we had been eating for years. I raised my glass and said, "I'd like to make a toast to lessons that were discovered the hard way, to the fortitude that can be discovered in broken places, and to everyone who reminded me that authenticity is the greatest gift in life." Later, after the visitors had left and my kids had finished clearing away the plates, I walked out onto the back porch of the house that was now really mine. New foliage was starting to emerge from the freshly churned soil in the garden I had planted in the weeks following the divorce. Like me, I thought as I watched the sky turn a dazzling array of colors as the sun sank. I had not planned this existence. It had been an unbearably terrible trip to get here. However, as I stood in my yard among individuals who respected me for who I was, I came to the unquestionable realization that, inadvertently, Nathan had fulfilled his pledge. My 40th birthday present had, after all, completely blown my mind, just not in the way anyone had anticipated. My cozy delusions had been destroyed, and I was compelled to reconstruct something genuine from the rubble. And in the end, that agonizing gift of truth had released me, free. Ultimately, Elena increased her standards rather than her voice. Instead of using fire to exact revenge, she opted for grace, clarity, and subdued strength. Rebuilding oneself into an untouchable person is sometimes the finest form of retaliation. If you have ever experienced betrayal, keep in mind that calm speaks louder than any explosion, and that healing starts with setting boundaries. Allow them to question how you maintained your composure when everything fell apart all around them. Have you ever endured betrayal and recovered from it? We're listening, so share your tale in the comments. And perhaps, just possibly, healing begins there.